Hello there guys, welcome to our second video class for this Saturday. For next topic of these video classes, I would like to have a continuation of the previous class that we had, which was wish clauses, okay? So today, in this video, we're gonna be looking at the wish clauses, but using past, okay? If you remember, in the last video, we said that we're gonna be using simple past to talk about present. So now, what are we gonna do when we want to talk about past? We will take a look at that, okay? So take a seat, pay attention, and let's start. So first, let's go with the structure, okay? How exactly are we going to make a wish clause talking about past? So with the previous one, we use simple past. For these ones, we're gonna be using past perfect. So in case you haven't noticed it, this is something similar to conditionals. If you remember, in the second conditional, we were talking about hypothetical situations in the present using simple past. And here, we're talking about situations from the past using the past perfect tense. So the structure will be the next one. We start with the subject, then we use the verb wish, which remember, you're gonna change for wishes if you want to talk about he, she, or it, third person pronouns. And at the end, we're gonna do a sentence using past perfect. Remember that you have to include the subject again, you have to include the auxiliary, and you have to include the verb in past participle. All right? So once that we review the structure, let's go with some examples. Actually, before going into the examples, let's go a little bit with the explanation. When exactly, in what situations are we gonna use the wish clauses in past? So, very basic explanation, the same as the other wish clauses, but with an emphasis in the past. Something we would like to be different from the past. Let's suppose that, I don't know, you had an exam and you committed a mistake in that exam, and you would like it to be different. In that case, you can use a wish clause in past. Or for example, let's suppose that you had an argument with your best friend and you said something that hurt his or her feelings. In this case, there is something that you would like to be different from the past, and therefore you can use a wish clause in the past. Okay? So the explanation is basically the same as the last wish clause that we saw in the previous video, but with an emphasis in the past. That's the basic explanation. So once we're done with the explanation, let's follow it with the examples, all right? The first example, I wish I hadn't wasted so much money on Fortnite. Okay, let me give you some context. When the teacher was a little bit younger, around 18, 17 years old, I like Fortnite, okay? I like to play it, and since I like to play it, I invested some of my money on it, all right? So, now that I grew up, I regret it, I would like it to be different, and therefore, this example comes up. I wish I hadn't wasted so much money on Fortnite. Okay, let's analyze it a little bit. As you can see right here, in the beginning, we have the wish, okay? That's the beginning of the sentence. Then we go again with the pronoun, the person that I'm talking about, and the auxiliary for past perfect, which in this case, it's a negative, it would be hadn't. After hadn't, we need to use the verb in past participle. The verb waste, in case you're wondering, in Spanish would be desperdiciar, okay? So if I say, I wish I hadn't wasted so much money on Fortnite, I'm giving the context that it's something that I regret from the past and I would like it to be different, okay? Once I explain the example, let's follow with the next one. Following with the second example, now we have, I wish I had gone to bed earlier. Now, I think it's pretty obvious to guess the context, but I'm still gonna explain it. Today I went to bed at around 12:30, 1 a.m. and I had to wake up at 6 a.m. and that's the reason I feel a little bit sleepy. I would like that specific thing to be different, and that's why I use a wish clause in the past, because I want to change it. I wish I had gone to bed earlier. In this case, the sentence is a positive one, so I use the auxiliary had and then the verb in the past participle. I wish I had gone to bed earlier. Now, if I wanted to express this in a different perspective with a negative sentence, I can totally do it. There's no problem. For every sentence, you can switch the perspective to make it look different. I'm gonna write it in a couple of seconds and then I'm gonna show it to you. With the following example, we can see that now I'm talking about third person pronouns. Either a he or a she, it doesn't really matter, it can be both. My friend wishes he hadn't forgotten about the exam. Well, in this case, you know that I'm talking about a he, but it can be any of them, right? I'm using wishes because I'm talking about a third person. And remember that according to simple present rules, we need to add es to a verb, or s, it depends on the verb, if we want to talk about he, she, or it. My friend wishes he hadn't forgotten about the exam. Pretty basic context, pretty basic situation. We had an exam and my friend completely forgot about studying for it. So in this case, he would like to change that specific thing from the past. I can use the wish clause. My friend wishes he hadn't forgotten about the exam. To finish this, I'm gonna make a positive example using a third person. In this case, my mom. My mom wishes I had been more responsible with high school. I didn't, okay? I was a terrible student, you already know this. I had really bad grades in high school because I didn't care about it. In this case, my mom would like that specific thing from the past to be different, and I can use a wish clause in past. My mom wishes I had been more responsible with high school. Here you have it, the auxiliary, have, and the verb in past participle. There you go. Now, remember, very important, that even though I'm talking about my mom, my dad, my parents, my best friend, whatever, I can mention a completely different pronoun, a completely different subject in my sentence, okay? It doesn't have to be strictly the same one. So now you know, you can build a positive sentence, a negative sentence, talking about different pronouns or talking about the same one. It's a very dynamic and a very versatile expression. Now that we've finished with both the explanations and the examples, let's jump to the activity. What is the activity going to be, teacher? Let me answer you. What we're gonna do is that we have 4 different situations that I wrote for you, okay? What you have to do with each one of them is reading them, analyzing the context, and then you have to change this sentence into a wish clause, okay? You have to get the context and then change it. Remember that we don't include the word regret. We give that idea using the wish clause, okay? I'm gonna show you how to do it with one example, but not this, okay? These are only for you. Expressing it from a different perspective, what you can do is something like this. I wish I hadn't gone to bed late, okay? In this case, I changed the positive for a negative, but basically you get the same idea, right? You can say the same thing from 2 different perspectives and the context wouldn't change that much. An example of what you have to do in the activity is something like this. In this case, I have this sentence, I regret selling my PlayStation 2. I think that I have explained it in a couple of classes. When I was a kid, my first own console was a PlayStation 2 that I got for my birthday. Then eventually I got other consoles, I forgot about it, and I sold it, okay? I regret it, yes, but I sold it. Now, what I could do with this sentence, because I have a regret and there's something that I would like to change from the past, is using a wish clause. So I could write a sentence just like this. I wish I hadn't sold my PlayStation 2. I wish I hadn't sold my PlayStation 2, okay? If you notice, in both sentences, I have exactly the same context. The difference is that the one in black, the one with the black marker, I'm using a wish clause. So that's what you will have to do. You will have to read the sentences that I included a few seconds ago, and then you have to write your sentence using the wish clause. And as the second activity for today's class, I would like you to write a text. Teacher, another text? Yes, another text. Remember that it's important that you practice the grammar topics not only in sentences, but also in full texts, okay? So you get a chance to also practice the conjunctions, the connectors, punctuation, structure, all that, okay? And teacher, what is the text going to be about? You're going to write about what would you like to change from the past and why, okay? You're gonna pick 1 or maybe 2 things from your life that you would like to change from the past, obviously, and then you're gonna write a text about it. That's the reason I included a justification. Why would you like to change it? And the text has to be a minimum of 80 words. So please, if you're going to include one wish clause or two, make it justified, okay? Write a justification about why. And that being said, this will be the second and the last activity for today's class. I hope you like it, I hope you enjoy it, and if everything goes well, I will send you a third video so you can enjoy it. Have a good day, and I will see you next class.